Burgess.
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
Smith. Smith.
Here.
Okay, we need to make a motion to allow Candy to be
To
in the meeting
in.
remote.
Yeah, remote
Okay.
in.
Need a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, all A's. Yeah. All right, Candy, you're in.
Thank you.
I need a motion to approve the minutes of the January 18th Water Wastewater Committee meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
You're both A's.
Yes. We have no old business. Under the new business, the committee discussed Sarah Street. A quote to repair the road was $32,000. The city will work on repairing the road with oil and chip. Streets will discuss at their next meeting. Material has been ordered for the La Rochelle project. The city will need to work on getting easements from the residents. Water Superintendent Jack Duncan noted nitrate levels are still going up and they continue to monitor the levels. A possible installation of the nitrate vessels into the old plant may need to be done. Well 10 will need maintenance done in the near future. The bill for the EPA lab was not paid in June of 2021. $3,400 wasn't paid and it is due in 2022, June 2022 again. The bill for asphalt for Illinois Street from 51 to the west was $19,458.60. The committee agreed to send to finance. Burdick repaired the raw water main at the water plant. The cost to repair was $2,091. Mayor Page represented an offer for the water collector to work full-time at City Hall, a minimum wage of $12 an hour for 5 days a week for 8 hours a day. The committee discussed the offer. The water collector would like time to think about the offer. Alderperson Burgess questioned whether there was enough work and if water bills would be increased to pay for full-time. The committee discussed why the ditch at Casey's has water in it. Water superintendent explained it is due to brine. Soil testing was done and we continue to wait for results. There were no public comments and the meeting adjourned at 6:56 p.m. I believe we have quite a few things on the docket for this evening.
Yeah, the first thing I'd like to get out of the way, we talked about doing maintenance on at least well 10. I've gotten some quotes back from the surrounding leaders. It's Lane Western and Peerless Midwest. We've used both companies before. Their quotes aren't exactly apples to apples. I'll read part of Lane's quote that's kind of pertinent to why they're different. Acid will be worked in and out of the well and then left in overnight. The following morning, the solution will be surged again, neutralized, and pumped to waste. And that's from Lane Western. From Peerless Midwest, they have we recommend the use of our double disc surge block cleaning method with extended contact time and additional water and chemicals pushed into the formation. This method is the same 1 week approach we performed on other sand and gravel wells that have increased each well specific capacity. So basically, they're talking, Peerless Midwest is talking about doing a 7-day clean, take a full week for our wells. And those of you who are kind of privy to the way we're staying inside of our nitrate, staying compliant for nitrates, is that we have to blend out a well 10, which is lower nitrates, which essentially means we can't have that well out of service for 7 days plus. So I talked to Peerless about that, and they've come up with a new estimate for the deep cleaning on well 11, and then basically a 48-hour cleaning for well 10, which well 10, it's got a new pump motor and screen. It was installed in 2020, but the usage on it has gone so much higher than the other two pumps. This is basically preventative maintenance that we need to do. So I don't know if the pump 10 or well 10 would even benefit from the deep cleaning. So essentially, what we're looking at is two different approaches to get the same job done. I would think that deeper clean, 7-day clean is probably it probably gets more of the iron buildup and gives you a better final product. But again, we can't do that for well 10 right now. So Peerless Midwest, their offer was $26,300 for both wells together. And Lane Western was $28,542. Well 10 hasn't been chemically rehabilitated since 2007. It was chlorinated in 2017, but it has been acidized. Well 11 was also rehabilitated in 2007, and well 12 had the pump and motor replaced in 2013. Typically, communities that pump out of raw water or pump out of wells, they do these cleanings, biannually, maybe every 2 or 3 years. I know Moequa is doing theirs biannually. They're getting quotes to do theirs this year as well. So it's been a long time since we've done any of this. And the drawdown on our well number 11 has gone down pretty significantly. Further that drawdown goes down, the less we pump. So basically it comes down to the numbers, I guess. I think that they can both accomplish the same thing in the time period that we give them. So I'd like to, move forward, bring it to finance, have the council vote on it. If you guys have any questions about the work that's being done or what we're gonna do in the interim of when those wells are down.
Which company are you more comfortable with as
Either
far
one,
as?
I have really no preference. I
Because
work
they're
with
both
of
doing
them.
something a little different, correct?
They are doing it slightly differently, and they've both been in the industry for decades. I don't think that one does quality work over the other. We've used Lane more often. We've used Peerless more recently. So either one, I really have no preference. I would say the only thing that would push me over on Peerless is obviously they're about $2,000 cheaper, and it seems to me that they have a longer, deeper clean cycle, I guess you'd call it. Now, the representative from Lane, he begs to differ. He says he can accomplish the same amount of work that they're doing in 5 days in 2 days. So, that's just,
Did he say how he was gonna go about that?
well, not necessarily. He's basically saying it was unnecessary to do it that long.
I think in your quote you read that they use some kind of acid?
Yeah, and they will both use
Use the
acid,
same
they'll both use
chemical.
acid. So, Peerless has called out sodium hypochlorite, hydrochloric acid, and Aquaclear, and they've called out a QC21 hydrochloric acid solution with an acid enhancer, and they have a patented chemical treatment unit.
Okay.
So it will be roughly the same chemicals. It's basically the amount of time that they're going to be there.
What does that do for you if they're being cleaned out for 7 days? What does that
Well,
do
for well 10, like I said, it's not feasible, so that's why they came back with a reduced quote, because I told them that, 5 to 7 days isn't feasible, so they said, they can do it in 24 hours. One day, they said they'll work 14 hours the first day, and 14 hours the next day, so in those 48 hours, they said they can get it accomplished. So, the way we're operating these, how long we can run is by the capacity of our system. We've got 300,000 gallon tank over by the school. We've got a 60,000 gallon tank here, and then we have a 60,000 gallon underground tank. So, roughly by the numbers, it's 420,000 gallons. And the EPA has us down for an average flow rate of 100,000 gallons a day. So that gives you four days. So technically, we can go 4 days without having to pump raw water. And that's basically what I told them. So we've got 2 days for cleaning, 2 days for sampling, and then we gotta put the wells back online.
Okay.
So really, it'll be a board decision, I'm sure. There's numbers, like I said, I don't have any preference to which company we use. But any of the other board members have any questions, they're welcome to come talk to me about it. But it is I believe something that needs to be done regardless. And like I said, Moequa was also fielding quotes too. So,
Well, I think that as long as they're both alike and we can save $2,000, then we should save the $2,000 and go with the cheaper bid, as long as we're getting the same
yeah,
effect.
I don't think that, Yeah, I couldn't recommend one over the other, honestly, so.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and they're already very close to it, so whatever the board decides on, I think.
I'm sure it'll make a huge difference no matter what we do.
So yeah, so as long as we just bring it to finance, bring it to council, and then I've got sheets if you guys want copies.
Okay, thank you, Jack.
We've also got, Jeff Alvey here from GSI. They're wanting to, tie into a storm sewer that runs down, Illinois Street as part of the Illinois Street Improvement Plan to add a storm sewer and drains to the road. I believe the original intent of the storm sewer itself was to provide drainage for the road, along with some retention in that pond over there that everyone's seen off the side of the highway. As we know, it does flood over there. There are a litany of surface water drainage issues in this town. But GSI is trying to do a site improvement, a green space area, and this directly, the downspouts they're wanting to tie into the storm sewer there are directly affecting that project they've got going on. So that's why they're here, and maybe I can Jeff give you a little overview of what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I have some different prints, and I can share those if needed, because I don't know, if people have seen those or the different plans that we're kind of, doing on the site, improvements and everything else. So we have a couple of drains right now that are emptying out into the courtyard space. So we have a couple downspouts that are just emptying out into the courtyard space, onto the asphalt that's between the wings of the building. And that has a gravity flow out to the road. So it's draining out to the street today. Our issue, one is we're trying to do improvements, build a new entrance, turn that into a usable courtyard space, do some different site improvements and everything else. That drain today, like I said, just kind of dumps out onto the asphalt. What we found here recently with the ice and everything else, we've remodeled the inside. We've had water get inside the building because that drain is just an area drain going out. So when it gets blocked up, then it's back flowing into the building there. So working with Schaefer Architects, K. Woltman Construction, we're wanting to basically tie that drain into the front drain that just runs out towards the street today, as well to kind of get that away from the building, fix some of our water issues, and then direct that a little bit more. Since that goes through the turn-in entryway, down the road, and then out to the street, and then back into that sanitary sewer that's out there.
Jack, how do you think that's?
I think in the grand scheme of things, it's probably, that storm sewer is at capacity as it is, but like Jeff said, that water, it's likely already finding its way to the storm sewer. I think this is more of a precedence conversation we're having, having people tie into a storm sewer that was dedicated to the road, that we already know is at capacity. Again, what they're trying to do probably isn't much of an influence. It's not gonna really influence anybody around town. These guys, I believe, will have an opinion about this as well, so I'll pass it over to them. Do you guys have any comment or input on this?
Ultimately, where does that drain go right now? The way I understand it goes to that pond, correct?
That is the original design. I don't know if anybody else has been out there in heavy rain events. It doesn't seem as though that pond is being, it's fulfilling its purpose, and whether that's because it needs to be dredged out or the elevation is off, I don't know. There's an 18-inch tile that runs north in the same manhole where there's an outlet to run south into that pond. When you pull the manhole, 99% of the flow is running north into the 18-inch tile, which I believe it runs under GSI's shipping yard, and the outlet would be in that ditch there.
Right under their shipping yard to the northeast corner, drops into a 21-inch tile that comes into our drainage district.
Okay.
That 21-inch tile in a main or rain event is supposed to have a reducer in it, which we have no way of proving that that's ever been done.
And is that something that was?
That was
specified
in
by
the
city?
initial contract with GSI 10 years ago, when we allowed them to put a pipe into our ditch.
Okay.
They pay taxes just like all of our other 39 farmers that we're representing. They pay taxes into that district. They have the ability to dump into that district. Now, 21-inch pipe will only take 21 inches of water, period. And when it gets to the blacktop, there's a restriction there. The ditch was made for farm drainage. It wasn't made for roof drainage, and at one time GSI was 40 acres of dirt. And now it's 40 acres of buildings. And since the point when we had the contract made with GSI 10 years ago, and we allowed them to do this work, in the last 5 years, there's been 620 acres of farm ground from our 39 farmers that have been tiled into that ditch on down further. There's about to be another 80 acres this year to be tiled in. Those are all factors that we can't take into account, and I'm not sure how GSI can settle that issue with water. The ditch is only so big, and we're at capacity along with your same drainage issue that you have on the road. We're at capacity. And I don't think any of this is gonna affect us anymore, because 21 inches is 21 inches, period.
And it's exactly, it's like that, it won't take any more than the road.
Exactly.
And that's why it floods out on the GSI road.
Right.
You know, there's so like I said, surface drainage in the city of Assumption is gonna be the new hot topic, because that's, you know, it's what we have to address now. So,
But the meaning of the retaining pond was to hold the water and let it out slowly. Well, there's just been so much water, it just can't get away quick enough, and ultimately, it sounds like floods GSI.
So does that retaining pond fill up to the break then and overflow, or?
so, we had a heavy snow event, and it was melting, and then we had about an inch of rain. And I watched it. I pulled the manhole that goes into their shipping area, and that's the last manhole on that storm sewer line that dumps into the pond. And like I said, 99% of that flow is all going north. It was heavy, there's a lot of drainage, there's a lot of water going through there, and it's all going north. None of it's going into the pond.
And 3 or 4 years ago, when they asphalted the driveway to the south and run all the tiles into the pond, that, whether it helped or not, they ran all that water that the ground was absorbing when it was rock. Now that water's going into that pond.
And
Which is more of a
doesn't seem
surplus.
to be making, I mean, I've been out there at multiple rain events at that pond, and it just, you can see the bottom of it, year round. I don't know if that's a cattail issue, or if it's,
So does GSI need to revisit the attitude of what needs to be done to that retaining pond so that it serves its purpose? If it's not functioning properly, is
I
that
don't
what
know.
I'm hearing?
I don't
It's
know
not
who the
functioning
owner of that
properly?
pond is. I don't know if the city owns that pond, or if.
The way I
GSI owns
understand,
it.
the city owns it.
Oh, they do? I didn't know
The
that.
way I
Okay,
understand
I did not know
GSI
that.
put it in the city's lap.
Hmm.
And I can't figure that, you know, they'd have to find the documents that said the city owns it as of this date. So, you know, I really, you know, my opinion is that the storm sewer is at capacity. Is there, that tying those two roof drains into that storm sewer going to affect us in any way? No. They tie every single roof drain in their building onto that storm sewer is gonna affect us possibly, you know. But like Kurt said, once it's at capacity, it's at capacity. And that's where we're already at now, so. I really have no way to push you one way or the other. You know, from their point of view, they've got issues, they've got water coming into their building, they've got to beautify this area, and they're not, you know, their argument is that they're really not adding any more water into that storm sewer, because it does. It's an open drain now that runs down their parking lot into the road drains, so.
So it's already running in there anyway?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah, just be directing it.
they just want to basically hide it underground, so it's not like when it freezes, it doesn't ice over, people are walking through, maybe, you know, probably won't solve any flooding issues with that road, but it probably won't contribute to them either.
Mark, have you had a chance to look over any of this?
No, Jack has talked to me a little bit about it, but I would agree with what Jack's saying. I mean, it already surface drains, sounds like, you know, it's the 21 inch, I agree with that, it's not gonna carry anymore, because it is, you know, it sounds like it's overloaded, but, I mean, I have some questions that you know, we're not gonna answer tonight, but, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for your professional opinion, Jack, I appreciate that.
And I think, I think GSI is looking for an answer as soon as they can. This project has been held up, you know, they've been, you know, we keep pushing these water meetings back. So if you can't give them an answer, then that, I guess that's an answer itself, but
Well, like you said, it's not gonna create more water, it's just gonna redirect what he's already got. I don't really, if there's a problem, I may be oblivious to it, I don't understand how it's gonna make it worse.
it won't necessarily make it worse, but I guess we really need to address a larger issue. You know, this is something that we could approve and be done with, but there's a larger issue of the storm sewer not fulfilling its purpose. The retention pond not fulfilling its purpose, the water being all pushed onto the drainage district to the north. I mean, there's multiple factors here, so, it's a-
Would dredging that pond help?
I don't know. I think that elevation probably needs to be shot. I mean, you stand on that pond and you look to the north, I mean, it's almost like you're trying to push water uphill, so I really don't know. I know what the original intent of the pond was, I just don't know if it was ever, if it's silted in so much, or there's so many root balls in there, or what the problem is, why there's no water being retained in that pond, because that's essentially what their throttle was gonna be, so it doesn't all rush to the north. It's all eventually going to make its way into their district. What they want is for it to be slowed down, not all to be released at once,
Okay.
and that's what that pond is for.
Okay. It sounds like these are two separate issues, then you wanna move forward, you need to move forward with what you're doing. I think it's a great idea. I think it's always phenomenal to do facelift on a place like that, but it sounds like the pond issue, that's not where the water's gonna go anyway. It sounds like
No.
that's a different issue that needs to be addressed as well, because,
And, you know, as long as the board and everybody's aware that we are at capacity on the storm sewer, and, you know, maybe a small thing we're adding now, but in the future, how many people, you know, what's gonna develop, what's gonna be tied into it again and again. So it's just.
There has to be a limit though.
And I haven't said it, you know, there's really no precedent for setting something like that, there's no, you know, I don't know if it's just a handshake agreement, or, you know, I don't know.
We're not gonna do
I don't think we can do
handshakes
that anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
I wish
ever
that we
again.
could.
Not as long as I have anything to say
We
about
have to
it.
have it all
It's gonna
right
be
now.
on paper. It's gonna be done legally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cover each other that way.
And you know, speaking of legally, you know, I don't know what our, what we have to provide to a company or a resident in town as far as surface drainage. I know we have some sort of legal obligation, I don't know if it's much, but again, you know, this may be a question of who owns the pond, who said they'll maintain the ponds, you know, those are things that probably need to be researched and found out.
Yeah, it sounds like we need to look into that, regardless of what's
But
happening.
as far as the downspouts tying in, I'll leave that fully up to the board.
A couple of years ago, when all the downspouts in town for houses had to be taken out of the storm cellars, was that also acceptable for the companies in town, or was there
Now,
something different for them?
the ordinance is that they cannot be connected to the combined sewer system, that's a dedicated storm sewer, so. My opinion would be that wouldn't apply.
It
Just
was
to
for
this-
businesses as well.
Yeah, it'd be
Yes.
everybody, but anybody who's connected to the combined sewer system.
Are we gonna vote on that?
I mean, I don't know if this is, I don't know if we're spending, not really technically spending money, I don't know if we need a formal vote, I don't know, honestly. It's all up to you guys.
council would be next
Is
Wednesday.
that something we need to add to it, to okay?
So we could put it on the agenda
Mhm.
for next week. Would that delay too much, or?
That's a week from Wednesday?
Yeah, it's flooding like, as we get all this rain and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can have Derek call him and talk things over and see how Derek wants to handle it.
And maybe for the element of time, let's do that, have him talk
Okay.
to the mayor, and then if he decides that we need to take that to full council, we'll do it, but I'm not sure that it needs a full vote, just more of a blessing, cause there's definitely a larger issue at stake than just that. Is there anything else do you guys have anything else to contribute from the drainage district about that? Do you have any other facts or opinions we need to be made aware of? Anything at all you can tell us about that? Before we
We
move
were
on?
just here to find out information this evening.
Good.
Protecting
All right.
our
Yeah,
best
we
interest.
didn't know what this
Good.
was about exactly, we were just called about that, so.
Well, we're definitely glad that you were here for it.
Better to play ahead than behind.
Yeah, alright, great. Okay, well, we'll move right on then.
I think that might be, maybe a good transition for another topic. As far as
Yeah,
service
so-
drainage goes.
I have a handful of things I'm gonna talk about, I guess if I'm up. So I handed out, a little flow study report that we've, been doing, well, we did back in June and October. And then, as everybody know, I had COVID at the beginning of the year and haven't had a chance to get it to everybody. But so I kinda wanna talk about, and I can provide you guys a copy of it, after the meeting or whatnot, but, so, in general, what this is for, and if you flip to the page, it kind of shows, this first kind of full-size sheet shows where we did the flow monitoring. Really to look at, how our sewer phase one is operating, in terms of sanitary flow compared to stormwater influent, just like we're talking about inlets connected to the combined sewer, connected to what could be the now the sanitary sewer. And so that just shows where we did the flow monitoring. But basically what we have come to the conclusion of, I guess if you look at that one map, the flow at the pump station during a rain event, the new pump station is showing signs of, stormwater influence. There's stormwater coming from somewhere, and there's kind of two culprits where we feel there. So there is Sloan Implement. There's the sewer that was a sanitary service that was tied on north. I guess it'd be south of Sloan's property. What is that alley? That's on 2nd Street.
By Tecumseh, or by the Tecumseh Outreach.
By the food pantry. So that there, if you remember, I don't know if you guys, actually nobody was probably on the board at the time. So we had the attorney look into who owns the sanitary mains services on Sloan's property that travels through Sloan's and then heads over to GSI. At that time, the attorney was not able to find any information, whether or not the city owned it or not, so made the opinion that Sloan's and GSI, basically own that sewer. So the flow monitoring, has shown that yes, there is stormwater entering at the pump station, and a majority of it is coming from 99% of it is coming from Sloan's, line that is connected to the sanitary. There's a very small amount that is coming from a sewer that is connected to GSI, and we did not do flow monitoring at the apartment complex, but Jack and I have discussed it. He's had the manhole open, and it appears there is some stormwater coming in for there. Now, as Jack kind of mentioned, the city has an ordinance where you're talking about roof chains, inlets, whatnot connected to the combined sewer. You still have that same sewer use ordinance that would be in relation to sanitary. So we don't want to have stormwater entering our sanitary sewer. The majority of it is coming from Sloan, so I say this is immediate. We need to, get the attorney involved and figure out that this needs to be removed. We need to not have that connected to the sanitary main anymore. It needs to be separated either one way or another. A new sanitary service ran for Sloan's. It is complicated because GSI does just discharge into that same service that there is. Years ago, it probably was a service. They depending on how land was, acquired, sold, whatnot, It was either GSI's or Sloan's, I can't tell you the answer to that, we couldn't even figure that out, 3-4 years ago. Jack Kiley was the attorney at the time. But so that needs to be investigated. We need to get that taken off, because it's, if you look at the flow data, so I don't want to get into too much technical information, but if you look at the charts, so go to page, see if I can't find the right sheet. So if you look at this chart, this would be Sloan implement, the flow meter that was there, and then that's page 15. And then if you look at what is total flow at the pump station, so the graphs, kind of look the same, and there is some error in the meters, but what is evident is that the amount of volume coming from the Sloan's meter is almost identical to the amount there at the pump station during the rain event, so that is indicative that that's where the flow is coming from. So that's really, I just need the board's approval. I need to work with Greg and get something moving on solving that. And I don't know what that answer is yet, whether or not it's having storm sewer forcing Sloan's to work with us. I have no idea. I can't tell you how that's going to play out, but we need to remove that from the sanitary sewer. GSI does show a small amount. It is a very small. There's absolutely going to be elsewhere in the city. There's going to be, each one of your houses probably has your service line that if it was connected, there's some that might be, fractured and have a little bit of infiltration. But the majority of it is from that. I don't know if it's inlets, roof drains. I don't know what all's tied on. GSI could be tied on to that as well. I'm not saying that these inlets that we're talking about, because it's on the other side of the building. But we don't know what we don't know. But it's definitely something we need to investigate. And it's not necessarily an issue, right now. But it's it's going to be an issue. So. That's what the flow study, is kind of the purpose of, doing it to determine, how it's operating. Yes, it's, dry weather, it's working, as it should. It is taking, stormwater from what we believe is, mostly from Sloan's, that, I don't wanna say it's just Sloan's, because there is a sewer that runs and then GSI ties onto it, kind of runs across Sloan's property, and then connects over on the east side of, Sloan's property where GSI discharges. Does anybody have any questions? Doesn't really affect the drainage district because it's already been that way, but I don't know.
Does any of that water dump into that new ditch they just dug this summer, north of GSI?
So all this is underground. It's already either it was in the combined sewer. I don't know, I guess, what dumps into that. I know that ditch does carry some. I don't know where all of that comes from. What roof drains from GSI, I can't tell you, I guess. That's something we will have to investigate, though. The easy, quick solution would be to tie the service that runs through Sloan's and GSI back to the combined sewer. Now that will be a storm sewer, just like it was before, but the problem is we don't know sanitary services, the sanitary waste. So right now it's running into a sanitary main, which is acceptable, but it's for sanitary waste, but it's too much stormwater basically entering in that sanitary sewer. But those are kind of the things that we need to look into. So. It's going to be, we had the attorney work on it before. We're gonna have to make further legwork. There's no way around it. It needs to be taken off. It's not good to put a new sanitary sewer system in and then have that much storm water dumping into the new sewer main. So.
Has anyone talked with Sloan's about this?
I don't know if not. I mean, this is.
We've been waiting for this flow study to come
Yeah.
back. And the flow study takes 6 months, so.
Yeah, we did it, and then we were putting it together, and the last 3 months has been, snow and everything.
I know in the past there was battles between Sloan's and GSI, where all the water was going, because they were flooding out the Sloan parking lot, and then they had changed something a while back.
Well, like drainage district brought up, there's roughly 40 acres over there. pavement, and rock will take a little bit, but there's still a ton of asphalt, a ton of concrete, and there's no retention ponds. I mean, typically with businesses like that, you'd see some real, drainage for that large of parking lots and that large of a footprint, and there just isn't any, so.
And
We know it's,
in a small town, the drainage, there's always a question of whether or not you have, ordinances that say you have to have retention ponds and whatnot, and sometimes those things just, slip by, and that's, how it's been over the years.
It might be time to look into
Mhm.
that.
Would that be a reasonable answer?
Is that even feasible?
we would like to see it, yeah, it's definitely what really needs to happen is that, area of grass in between, Sloan's and GSI, really, that would benefit by having a large pond there. Cause all that water from Illinois Street, it all is heading north. Most of that water in that whole side of town heads north to that area. I think the drainage district would be happy to see that. It'd be a big throttle down for what's going towards them,
Is the area big enough for a pond?
Yeah, we don't own it though. It's not, I believe Sloan's owns that. We'd basically be telling them to do it and pay for it and.
Well, it sounds like they need to. They have to, you can't ignore this flow study. That's kind of a big deal, so.
I agree. Yeah, it makes our sewer project essentially obsolete, if we were to leave this connected, so.
Mhm. Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Definitely need to bring that to Sloan's attention. Anything else, Lauren?
I guess we should figure out how we're going to approach this. So I want to discuss this with Greg, and get his opinion, and then are you going to discuss it?
Yeah, I think we should, definitely, I'd like to have you there, have a representative from the city, maybe the legal representative there, just have a sit-down meeting with whoever Sloan's would like for them to participate in. I think everyone knows that this has been an issue for a long time. They know about it, we know about it.
Nothing's been done, yeah. Okay, well, I'll talk to Greg, you can talk to Sloan's,
Yep.
and
And we'll get everybody together.
I will discuss it with Derek too, and I'm sure he will as well, just make sure he's on the same
Yeah.
page. All right, so I have a few other things. Greg and I have talked about, so the EPA has asked for a timeline of events for the nitrate violation that, kind of alluded to the well situation. So I have gotten that timeline to Greg. I did not bring it tonight, but I can provide it to you guys. Send it. I'll email it to Janet. Basically, what he was wanting, and the EPA was requesting it, just where we started the process of the project plan for the nitrate removal in the old plant, and then where the new plant conversation, the potential grant and all those things have came about. So we did get results back for the soil sampling, and I want to make sure, we weren't required per the loan program to do a investigation of the site, but we did test it. We didn't do a full phase one. We don't do it. We actually have a sub, so I have emailed this to Janet, and it's just the report that shows there is the presence of chemicals, but they are below the action level. What you have to be concerned about. So you'll find natural levels of just your car parking and leaking oil or gas. So there is the presence of it, but. So in their recommendation, there's no action level that needs to be done. So it's good that we have that done. So I do have permits for the water treatment plant. I've got a kind of a draft set of plans that briefly gone over with Jack kind of through the last couple months, but he hasn't seen these yet, so I'm gonna have he can take a look at those. And this is just the permit set, so it's not final. This is what it's going to, but this is the water treatment plant portion of the new plant. We need to get this turned in, just the timeline of, getting the project advertised and meeting the deadlines that the EPA has kind of enforced on the city. So I got the signatures or pages for Derek. I also have the full application for the loan for the water treatment plant project, so I just have that for Derek to sign as well. We have received all the other sign-offs for the site. Like we had to have the Department of Ag, allow us. Yes, this is what is a farm ground. Can we actually use it for a water treatment plant or something? And when we received acceptance, that was the last one that we were waiting on. And then the biggest one for the water treatment plant, I would say everybody here, that's around the city that has city water. The $2 million that we applied for, with one of the representatives' offices, we're still waiting. The city is still waiting to get approval. Basically has to be appropriated through the House and Senate, whatever committees it is. Everybody here should contact their local representative and start asking about why have we not received any more information, because that's going to be a big deal in terms of what happens to this water project. We're in compliance commitment that we need to do this water treatment plant. Yes, we're supposed to get this $2 million, but they're not appropriating it. It keeps getting shoved, pushed off. So I say you call your representatives and even others, that who wasn't involved with the grant the application. Call all of them. Get the word out that needs to be appropriated. And we're not. The city of Assumption is not the only community that is waiting for the funds. It's all across the U.S. It's basically pork money. Money that representatives can request. And so it's all over, that they're waiting for it. So there's a handful of them in the state of Illinois. We have a couple projects ourselves that we're waiting on it. So just call your representatives. And so then sewer phase 1, we haven't done the punch list. We had it scheduled for way back when, and then things happen, and then it snowed. It seems every time we were going to do it, and we can't do the walkthrough. Once there is snow in the ground. So that has not been completed. We'll try for sometime. I'm hoping to do it before the next water committee meeting. It's just nice to get it done, and then it gives the last one I was hoping to get some feedback from the board. If they had any comments or not, for things to point out on the punch list. But that's okay if you don't. That's fine. We'll have a punch list that we'll have for the meeting. We'll talk about it. I already talked about the flow study, and then we still have some quantity adjustments. We're at the end of the project. There's still some outlying, the quantities that we have extra. We haven't spent all the funds, but we can't really adjust those yet until we have the punch list and get that finished. And then so sewer phase 2. So this is the northwest part of the city. So that's the next phase of the sewer project. There's a couple of things that are, kind of still out there. So one is the permit for the project, and I actually did just receive a contact from the permits department, so they are reviewing it. So I expect the permit will be issued here relatively in the next week or so. Once that happens, then we are very close to being authorized. The EPA would give us approval to advertise the project, but there's really a holdup. So the land acquisition for the Leafland pump station. If you remember, we were trying to acquire some, next to that pump station. So that paperwork just hasn't been processed. I have talked to Greg, and I'll keep nudging Greg to see where he's at on that. And then he'll have to provide a legal opinion that yes, all the land is yours, and it's good to go. But I can't do that until that's finished. That's it for that. And then La Rochelle, just mentioning that they're expected to start in middle of March. They're working on a project and haven't been able to move over here yet. So I think that's all I have. Unless anybody has any questions.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Tanya, how's things going?
Water bills, we got them out, and everything's going well. I mean, we haven't obviously started collecting, people haven't received the bills yet. I do the sewer increase for, I think they passed it in October, but it started for the month of January this year, so we got that, so the water bills will be a little higher than normal. And then, everything's going good.
There was something related to that I wanted to bring up. We had passed a, water rate increase ordinance, and it had expired in 2021 was the last scheduled increase. So, I think it would behoove us to have a matching ordinance for water that we do for sewer to be addressed yearly, at a fixed rate, max of 5% or 3% or whatever the board decides. But that would be my recommendation, is that we get on top of it now, since we have a sewer, we have an ordinance for sewer rate increases if we need them. I think we should do the same thing for water now that the previous ordinance is lapsed.
That would be something we would visit every year.
Yeah.
And it would either, if we needed it,
Right.
we could
And
use
it'd have
it,
a cap
if
on
not, then we leave it as is.
Yeah, so, we can make a max of 5% would be the highest, and if we say, okay, well, CPI's at 2%, let's match CPI and go to 2% raise, or, our income for water is good, we're good, we're comfortable with where we're at, we don't have any projects coming up, we'll leave it as is, so.
It definitely needs attention yearly because everything else goes up annually.
Yep.
We can't ignore that or it'll bite us. Okay. Anybody else have anything? Any other comments? Okay. Okay.
Yes, we're done.
Alright, I do have one thing that I need to read for you guys all, just because I feel like this meeting is appropriate. Derek already knows, Jeff already knows, but I just wanna make it known, because I'm the chairman of the water department. With the verbal acceptance of Mayor Derek Page, I, Melody Stewart, Alderman of Ward 1, I do hereby formally enter this letter of resignation to the citizens of Assumption, the board, and the employees effective March 3rd, 2022. So I just want you to know all that